Welcome to our new podcast here at Pillars. I've got Mark DiGiorgio with me today. Good morning, Mark.
Good morning.
And we're going to talk about things that have developed, or should we say not developed, since Christmas, since our last podcast. Because we tried to give a synopsis for the year. We wished everybody a Happy New Year and a very prosperous New Year. But the first quarter of this year has not been great. January, the Purchasing Managers Index was down. February is even worse than January was. And the outlook for the whole year, for the economy as a whole, has been downgraded as well. But we want to cast a bit of light on proceedings, don't we, Mark?
Yes.
And try and be a bit positive. As an architectural practice, basically I'm an architect and Mark is a developer contractor. So as an architect, we've picked up 8 brand new projects over the course of February and March, which is quite a lot because we are quite a small practice really. And so we want to sort of deep dive into that and see why are people active still, and try and, let's say, delve into why those people are proceeding, whereas other people might be a bit more nervous. I mean, how are you finding things right now, Mark? I mean, things are quite difficult out there still, aren't they?
Yeah, there's a lot of doubt and a lot of skepticism with the market at the moment. We've been finding that we've been winning quite a lot of work, and that's on the domestic residential side and also the commercial side. We've been doing quite a lot of work in hospitals, sports centres, country parks. So the work that we've got coming in has sort of come in at quite a fast rate, and I think people are realising that you need to spend money on property to allow that to sort of add value to the property, allow them to sort of have more quality time within certain spaces. The indoor-outdoor feel is definitely a big thing. Extensions to extend extend the family home, which will give them a bigger space, but allow them to enjoy that space and not have to move with all the associated costs. Stamp duty is one thing that gets mentioned quite a lot when I speak to clients. They're not happy with the amount that they have to pay in order to move, with obviously the legal costs and everything else that you would normally expect to pay. Increasing costs within the market are a hard thing for clients to understand, but I think the material costs and possibly the labour costs are going to rise with everything that's going on in the world at the moment.
Yeah, of course, yeah, with the Middle East, yeah,
Yes,
yeah, it's potentially going to get worse before it gets better, isn't it?
I believe so.
That's the worry right now, and things are, pretty bad already. I think there's 3 or 4 things in my mind as to why people are being active. I think you've touched on one of them, which is the nature of projects. For example, a lot of projects we've picked up recently are non-residential. So we picked up 2 lots of church work, one in Kent and one in southwest London, a nursery school as well as some of the residential stuff as well. So I think the nature of development and the returns that people are getting is changing.
Yes.
Because we are primarily residential, but thank goodness we diversify and do other things as well. Things that are particularly strong right now are commercial. I think because we've not built any office space really since COVID with the work from home, and a lot of the office space that did exist is perhaps now dropped down to grade B, should we say, or even lower. And a lot of it's been converted into residential as well, hasn't it?
It has, yeah.
So there is a need for office space, particularly small office space where people rent out, say, 600 square feet per month on a rolling contract or on a short contract, like dotted around the M25, for example. There is demand for that kind of thing. Also, of course, the JP Morgan, which I think I've heard like 1 billion, 1.5 billion, 3 billion for that job, the biggest office block in Britain as their European HQ. I think the most rational figure that I've seen so far is 1.5 billion build cost for that. The other thing is logistics.
Yeah.
They're literally big tin sheds. There's a massive demand, isn't there, for storage and logistics these days. So it's not purely residential, because I think residential is quite weak. The other thing we're finding is a lot of the residential stuff that we are doing are things where people might have put something on hold. One of them is where, if I can use a colloquial expression, where they've binned off their previous consultant for not being responsive for months on end. So, as you know, I know you're a very good contractor. When you're on it, you're on it. And when we're on it as well, So we don't let things drift, because there's enough drift in any case. So you need your consultants to be really on everything. So that's one thing that's come to us. There's other stuff that's been sort of sitting around where somebody might have not neglected something, but thought, come around to the realization we really must get on with this. it's been, say, 5 years or 6 years.
Yes.
There's one in particular for a block of flats where their previous approval has now expired. So it's no longer extant. They don't have an extant planning approval. So they need a brand new planning approval for a brand new block of flats, which we're going to design for them. So it's a combination of those things, I think, diversifying and the idea that eventually something must come ahead. There's no point sitting with dormant sites. And also something you and I discussed earlier today is the idea of planning for the future.
Yes.
So if they start now, it's not going to be on stream for another 3 years with the planning. It could be 4.5 years before they start occupying it or renting it out or selling the flats. So I think people are looking ahead, because I know the general GDP forecast has been downgraded for this year, for 2026, but it's actually been upgraded for 2027 and 2028. So the economy is actually going to grow quicker than people previously thought, which is good. So I think really, I don't know what your opinion is, but I think it's a combination of those 3 or 4 factors coming together that mean, provided you provide a good service and you're a good developer and builder, contractor, I think there is a scope to remain strong and to even grow companies, isn't there?
Yeah, I think that clients are also diversifying their mindset. So rather than going for, say, HMO conversions or commercial to residential, they're looking at sort of care homes, like libraries, schools, things that are going to help the community as well as themselves as businesses to create something that's going to help the community. I think a lot of emphasis is going into that, even things like allotments and communal gardens, spaces that are going to help bring people together from all walks of life, and it's going to allow the community to build once again. I think there's a strong emphasis in that, even within HMOs as well, trying to build that community spirit within that one household, that street, and then obviously that community itself is a big thing that is it pushing sort of landlords and developers into doing something more diverse, but sort of more future proof, and giving people sort of hope and somewhere nice to live.
Do you know, you've triggered something in me which I wasn't aware of? Well, I was aware, but subconsciously, I guess. I think people are moving from a short-term gain mentality, perhaps because they have to more of a long-term recurrent income
That could
strategy,
be
aren't they?
because that could be because of the build cost,
Mm,
where you're not going to get your return on investment as quick as you once would, with all the increased costs. When you look at the square meterage price to do a build, it's far more expensive now. Double, nearly triple when you look at the cost of like labour, materials. So when you look at how much that's going to give you in return, you're going to have to play the long game and wait for natural appreciation within a
mm,
property to occur before you're going to get your money out.
yeah,
But it's going to be cheaper to do that now than it would in, say, 3, 5, 10 years time,
yeah.
because all the costs are going to be more expensive. And I don't know whether the value of properties will have increased by that value in that space of time.
Yeah, I agree, especially on the bricks and mortar, what they call
Yeah.
bricks and mortar valuation. You guys are probably aware you can do commercial valuations instead, and you could even do that to a block of flats that you're renting, or even to
Yeah.
an HMO, can't you?
Yes.
So basically, you take the rental income per annum and capitalise that rental income,
Yeah.
and if that's locked in and secure, that can be much higher than the
Yes.
bricks and mortar valuation, can't
Yeah.
it? I'm thinking along the lines of people not just having a 2 or 3 year horizon, but having a 15-year horizon. Because I know, certainly in terms of the private rented sector, in England, there's been a mentality that people love ASTs, 6 months rolling contracts, get the tenant out after 2 years, hike the rent. But that's a very short term and probably a foolish strategy, isn't it?
Well, that's
Um,
being abolished now, isn't it? Obviously, with the
exactly.
Renters' Right Bill and Act.
Yeah. Well, I'm thinking more like France, because in
Yeah.
the French model, people like their tenants to stay there 15 years. Tenants even install their own kitchens instead of the landlord doing a kitchen. There's much more security. And in a way, provided it works and stacks, that actually, funny enough, gives the landlord security as well, doesn't it?
It does.
I know that's something you're doing with local authorities, isn't it? The emergency
Yes.
housing and
Yeah.
housing people like that.
Yeah, supported living, assisted living are big things within our community, and that we work like quite closely with the council to provide.
Mm,
There's a major need for housing, and it's making sure that the local residents and community are kept together, to be able to sort of live and enjoy the space.
mm,
As a community, it's
yeah,
not about breaking up the space to bring people in from other areas as such. It's more about delivering something that's going to create a better future for our local towns, and that's being replicated in quite a lot of areas that we work in.
mm,
We're doing like work over in Oxford, Reading, London, even down in the coast, sort of Folkestone, Dover. And clients' mindset seems to be the similar sort of precedents where they want to deliver the best quality they can for the budget that they have, and that differs massively in different areas and different sectors of what you're providing. But people are spending more money on the internal fit outs of their properties so that they will last longer, look better, and give a better quality to the tenants or the residents that are living within those properties.
Yeah, fantastic. I think you've also touched on something about the wider setting as well,
Yeah.
because the wider well-being and economic good health of a town centre
Yes.
or a street.
Yeah.
Because there's no point investing in a luxury or even a normal block of flats if the whole area, the wider area, is going to rack and ruin.
Yes.
And nobody's investing in that. So this idea of large centre, city centre renewal, such as you've seen in Manchester and now Birmingham, and perhaps other cities, well, they already are.
Yeah.
But perhaps increasingly they'll come ahead in doing that. So you're talking about multi-billion pounds investments, including the private sector and the public sector. But yeah, I think the idea of really we're moving from a model of short-term gain and devil may be damned or whatever for the others to more of a long-term model where you do care deeply about the town centre, the rest of the town centre, and like I said, the economic good health, not just of your own building, but the buildings around it. So we might actually, funny enough, be moving to a better model, to a better mentality for development. So I think we've touched on a few things which are positive, because the wider picture is bad, isn't it? There's lots of builders going bust every week, and even engineers and architects going bust every week. It's horrendous out there, but I think the future, the mid-term future and the long-term future could actually be better, not just economically but professionally, and people feeling that they're doing a good for the environment and good for society, not just for economic gain. So I feel quite positive about that. We're going to touch on a few of these things at South East Construction Expo 26 as well, guys, because Mark and I will be speaking there. We're doing the breakfast slot, which I've been told is the best slot because you've got a captive audience rather than people milling around looking at the stands instead. So yeah, South East Construction Expo 26, which is at the Brighton Amex Stadium, 30th of April. Mark and I will be here. We'd like to keep it real always. I keep saying that expression now. We'd like to keep it real though, guys, because there's lots of crap out there. There's lots of headwinds, lots of uncertainty. Everything's in a state of flux. So it's not great. You can't sugarcoat things, but there are positives in the ways that we've just discussed, diversification, and just looking at things in a more open-minded way. There's certainly scope for growth there, and doing good developments.
No, definitely. And sustainability is another big
yes, of course,
factor as well. People are more conscious of the environment and the impact that they're going to have on that. And there's lots of sort of building methods that are very sort of complementary to that mindset. So I think things are there are positives in where the world we're in at the moment. We just have to sort of find them and deliver them.
Yeah, good point. Okay, guys, I think we'll wrap it there because we've looked at the bad, we've looked at the good. I hope that was helpful. If you're around, do come and see us in Brighton and look out for our future podcasts. Cheers, guys.